Hello everyone, and welcome to Practicing Dentistry Smarter, Hints from the Trenches. I'm Dr. John Camisi, General Practitioner of Dentistry in Ithaca, New York, and I'm very glad that you can join me this evening. We're going to go through some fun stuff that we have been using at our office for a while. The thought came to me that we've all got a great deal of hints and nuggets that we have and we use in our offices day to day. In our practice of dentistry, and wouldn't it be fun and wouldn't it be nice to be able to share some of these various pieces of knowledge together, and I thought that we would do that with you this evening. So for the next 50 minutes or so, we'll take some time and share that together. Fundamentally, of course, one of the first things that we have found to be invaluable in our offices is, of course, magnification, whether it's the various types of loupes that you see on the screen here or microscope use. All of that's very, very vital and important. And of course, in the lower right-hand corner is a light, typically affixed to your loupes. I find that I can't work without a good light and good loupes. And today, my magnification at the offices is 4 power, which helps me see things in greater detail than ever before. You know, when I first got out of school, magnification wasn't really even a considered thing, and as time went by, magnification started to get more and more into the field for myself, and it's been so important to see what you otherwise wouldn't be able to see. So if you don't have any kind of magnification and loupes in your office that you're currently using, please investigate this. It's going to be valuable to everything that you do, and having a headlamp that attaches on, some of them are now battery operated, such as the oroscopic lenses that are on the lower left-hand side, that you don't need a cord or an external battery. Very, very nice pieces of equipment that I would certainly encourage you to look at and delve into further. One of the other things that we have also found to be extraordinarily valuable today, especially with the extraordinarily frightened patients for the dental needle injection, is the dental vibe. We've been using this in the office for several years now, and we have been able to cut the fear of it having an injection down significantly with our patients by using the dental vibe. The 2 tines at the very end of it where the operating end vibrate at different oscillations and actually does change the sensation of the needle as it penetrates the tissue. And this has been a godsend for all of our patients. They really value it, and we find it to be a very extraordinary, valuable asset to use in our office when we are giving our dental injection. So something that you'll want to consider in what you might want to look at. The next important nugget that we have found, and this hint came to me just in February at the Chicago Dental meeting, midwinter meeting in Chicago in February. A fabulous place to go. Horrible time of the year. You'd think they'd have the midwinter meeting in Miami, but they have it in Chicago, and it's one of the best attended meetings in the nation, and it gets a pretty decent international draw. But this material from On Farmer, which is called On Set, consists of a administrating a pin handle that you see at the bottom of your screen. Let me show that to you here. That's this device right in here, and it comes with sodium bicarbonate compules that and an applicator transmitter device that you put your cartridge of anesthetic into, and then turn the dial on the lower right-hand side where the arrow is located to the appropriate milliliters. For every milliliter, if you got 1.8 milliliters in the cartridge, you turn to 18. You then inject that 18 into the cartridge, and it will then buffer the anesthetic and enable that to work faster. This has turned out to be one of the most incredible assets because we can go to work almost immediately upon injection. There's no need to wait for the anesthetic to take effect. If you have patients who have a hot tooth, very badly endodontically involved, we have found that because of the buffering offered by the onset material, we're able to work even on the most uncomfortable circumstances quickly, easily, and comfortably. So this is something something that I would encourage you to look at as well. It's by the company called On Pharma, and the device is called the Onset, O-N-S-E-T device. Another item that we have found very, very helpful, especially in those busy patients who hate that numb feeling after we've proceeded and treated them, is Septidon's Auraverse. This will actually reduce the amount of time that the anesthetic effect after procedure is felt by the patient. For every carpule of local anesthetic that you administer, you need to administer the same amount of carpules of the Auraverse to help to reverse the effect of the anesthetic. A nice material for those patients who hate that feeling of numbness thereafter, and something that we have found to be quite useful. We don't use it a lot, but boy, it comes in handy with those patients who, fight you tooth and nail, who don't want a local anesthetic because they hate that numb feeling. But when you show them that they can be anesthetized, be comfortable during procedure, and then be able to be not numb afterward in a quicker amount of time, this really makes a difference to them. For many years, most of us were trained, of course, and still are trained to use rubber dam in the office for all of our dental procedures. And if you're like me, I hate rubber dam simply because it's so cumbersome to use. And I know there's some of you who are extraordinarily effective and talented in putting those things in, but I've never been one to really find them as effectively helpful as I'd like it to be. And when my wife finally beat me enough to put in this Isolite system into the office, yes, I'm stubborn, and sometimes I need to be guided to the trough to drink. And when we finally incorporated Isolite, it's been a godsend. It's made my day-to-day procedural work easy, because the Isolite will keep the mouth propped open in a comfortable way for the patient. It will help to protect the back of the throat from any debris and moisture from going down, because it's a high-speed evacuator as well. It illuminates the area, and it retracts the cheek. It's as effective as rubber dam in so many different situations, but for me, a lot easier overall. So I've been having that work out. Stephen, I'll get to the question about the Auraverse toward the end of it, and definitely you'll be one of the first ones to be taken care of. So Isolite's been very, very helpful. And this is us in the office treating a patient. We gown fully for every procedure. That's me with my 4O loops working. We cover from head to toe, so that this way we can not take any of the stuff that our patients provide to us day to day home to our spouses and family. We wear scrubs all day in office, but we also will, of course, gown up fully. And as you can see, there's plenty of room in the oral cavity when you're working with the Isolite on the teeth. So it has become an incredible boon to what we do. It makes my assistants' life easier, because they're free to get me anything that we may not have handy right on in the operatory, or basically just saves their back, and it makes my field of vision and operation a lot easier to work with. Now, in dental school, this is something that I found out when I was speaking down in Alabama for the Alabama AGD last summer. The students from Alabama Birmingham School were talking about the Kona adapter. And this is the inexpensive way to be able to use the Isolite. It's equivalent in a sense to the IsoDry, which is the Isolite without the optic or of a fiber optic in here. And you can just attach this onto your high-speed evacuation unit and then put an Isolite device onto it. So this is an inexpensive way to get the benefit of an Isolite, but you do not get the light, which I find to be very helpful. When you have three sources of light, the headlight, the overhead light, and the Isolite optics in there, it just makes you clearer to see everything internally during the entire time period. So I think that this will be a very helpful item for you in case you don't want to invest in the Isolite. Frankly, I think you find it better off if you did. If you ever get down to any of the major meetings and you see the people that are demonstrating demonstrating it. It's amazing what the poor folks that sit there all day long and get bottles of water engulfed into their mouth as they're having the suction take it all out. But even our gaggers have appreciated the Isolite because they know that nothing's going any further back. Once you get it into place and they settle in, it's been a godsend and a blessing. This is another interesting device that we've just seen recently. I haven't tried this. This is called Mr. Thirsty by Zerk. I figured I'd put it into the talk this evening because it's out there and it's available. It seems to have a similar operation to the Isolite, but you know, I'm not sure how effective it is, even though I did see in one of the trade journals that it has been mentioned with positive reviews. So it's something to consider. For me, it probably doesn't work as nice as the Isolite in my hands, but I can't speak highly in any way of it. Just thought I'd bring it to your attention. Now, lasers have been around for a number of years, and of course lasers are light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And lasers have been available in one form or another for so many years now. But if you've looked on the market lately, they've become smaller and less expensive than ever. We are late adopters of the laser in my office, and I kick myself every day when I realized what I was missing, not having a laser available for procedures in my office. And it's certainly not something something I wish I had gotten a lot earlier. I'm currently using the AMD Picasso Lite device in my office, but these others that are available, some of them are pictured here, are quite nice. You really should look into them because it'll open up an avenue of a procedural capability that you may not have ever considered before. Of course, we all know that laser gingival troughing is a valuable asset for crown and bridge preparation because you can eliminate the need for using a packing cord, and that certainly is a major time saver. You can get you can understand and see your margins very, very nicely. You get very good, clear impressions, whether it is digital impression or conventional impressions, with very little post-operative pain and discomfort. And it certainly has made my procedural work really easy as well. So that's something for you to consider here. You know, here's a before and after of a case that we were doing in the office. I don't care how much cord I would have packed around the sulcus of that molar, I would have never been able to have seen everything. Immediately after lasing the area, you see there's no bleeding, no charring, and the margins are clear. We couldn't have done that and we couldn't have gotten a good impression of this area without the use of a laser. So something to do. In the recent Dental Product Shopper magazine, August of this year, this is a case study that we presented and had published. This is a 37-year-old patient in my practice who presented with this lesion on the upper left central incisor. It had been bothering her for a while, and she finally decided to do something about it. So we started the procedure and began prepping and started to realize that this thing was going to go a lot further subgingival than we would have otherwise liked to do. If I had to pack any kind of cord or any other kind of procedural thing in here, it would have been problematic. So we got out the handy-dandy laser and basically removed the excess tissue. Here I'm using the Picasso Lite by AMD. This is the laser that I use in my office, and we were able to remove all of the tissue. Then I was able to place a greater curve matrix band that you can get from Owens Dental, O-W-E-N-S Dental. You can find them, Google greater curve band, and you'll be able to get to the website. These are highly curved matrix bands that you're able to adapt into many, many different areas. Dennis Brown, who is the creator of these bands, has shown me so many tricks over the years. But in this situation here, we've adapted the greater curve band into the area. I've then placed a flowable composite. Let me just show you where, right in here. We've placed in here Beauty Fill Flow Plus material, which is a geomer flowable composite that is the kind that stays in place. It doesn't run all over the place. We talk about this in my lectures all the time. We then also had, unfortunately, an exposure in there, so we had to get that ready for future time period to do endo, which we did a couple of days later in this area. And then once we got that stabilized and we got that gingival adaptation with the composite, we then built it up further with composite again. In this situation, we used Beauty Fill 2, which is a geomer composite. I like these bioactive materials. We use them all the time in our office. And then once we removed the band and polished, that was our final result. And we brought this patient back in. She's now in the process of going through periodontal therapy and restorative work, and we're trying to help her get into better shape all the time. But nice result in just a short period of time. Couldn't have done it without the laser. And if you're using lasers, of course, you need to use special filter glasses. If you're wearing loupes like I do, and you do laser work, you really can't just take off the loupes and put on any other kind of laser-safe glasses. Dentlight creates these laser loupes that you can put right on the end of your loupes. They just basically slip on, and these will flip up or down as you need to. They have some special protective lenses that you can put behind and between the loupes and the laser loop. This has been a godsend, because when I look through my loupes now and my magnification, I have the laser ends on there protecting my eyes, and it comes in whichever format that you need: 810, 940, 960, 980 diodes. And it's very, very helpful for me, and I would highly recommend that be used there. Now, for instrumentation, some of the things that I have personally found over the years is that my hands on the narrow little handles of our hand instruments is getting a little bit difficult to work with. And when I found these slicks by Premier, and they come in just about every kind of adapted end as necessary, I found a godsend in my ability to work and carve and place and sculpt with my hand instruments. These devices are great. They're non-stick, very ergonomic, and they're all autoclavable. These are some nuggets that have helped me in my day-to-day practice. So you should look at this. This is by the Premier company. It's called Slicks. Curing lights and radiometers. This is a very important practical hint that I'm going to encourage you to understand and work with. If you don't check your curing light frequently, especially your LEDs, you really don't know what energy is coming out of it, because unlike our halogen lights that when they burn out, LED lights, they don't burn out, and they may not be providing you with any energy. So if you don't know what your number is, you don't know how many milliwatts per centimeter squared of energy that's coming out of your curing light, you may create essentially the proverbial Tootsie Roll pop, in which your composite may be hard on the outside, but because there's no energy getting into the internal aspect of your composite, you may create the soft, chewy center, which will create all kinds of havoc. Because when we are doing multiple surface preparations, that box is approximately 4 to 6 millimeters away from the occlusal surface. And even though you can place your light onto the occlusal surface, you still need enough energy of that light to cure down on the proximal box. And if you're placing a matrix band around things, you're going to have some problems as you go forward if you don't have enough energy. So being the nuisance that I am, I decided to check a few things out. And this is the SDI radiometer and the SDI Radii Plus which is the light that we like to use, one of the lights that we like to use in the office. And as you can see, when I place the light and turn it on right on the aperture of the device, I get a pretty good reading, a pretty darn good reading of 2,100 nanometers per centimeter squared. The problem, milliwatts per centimeter squared, the problem, of course, is that we don't have the light directly on top of the composite, as I showed you earlier. And so I decided to do a test. So I took a washer and put it on the aperture area to start to give me a distance. And I found that when I placed the exact same light on that exact same radiometer at a distance of approximately 4 millimeters away, the light energy decreased to 1325. So I said, let's see what happens when you go to 6 millimeters. The light energy decreased to 765. And just to be a real fun guy, decided to check it at 8 millimeters. And we see that the light energy went down to 540. We're getting desperately close to the light energy necessary to cure the composite. So if you don't know what your output is on your lights, the chances are you may or may not be curing your composite appropriately, and that's why you're having failure, sensitivity, and other issues. So very, very important to understand that. So the takeaway from this very quick section of the proceeding this evening is that you need to have a digital output reading on a radiometer. You cannot trust the various lights that go up that just give you 6 or 2 or 3 lights that go up into the scope when you place it on your machines. You need a digital readout, because if you have sufficient distance and your readout and your energy is low, what you then have to do is increase the amount of time that you are curing. The problem is that as you increase the amount of time of your cure, you then begin to increase the temperature that's exerted into the tooth surfaces, and therefore impinging upon and possibly injuring the pulp. So know what your numbers are, know what your readout is. It'll certainly make your patient happier, and it'll make your procedures go a lot easier. Another item that we have found to be invaluable in the office is a product called Traxident. It's by Premier. It is a hemodent paste retraction system, which basically helps to reduce the amount of hemorrhage, and also helps to open up the sulcus around the preparations. It stops the bleeding and the crevicular fluids that can interfere, especially with bonding. We found that I can use this around those little tissue tags that are bleeding at the gingival surface, especially in the interproximal box area or at class 5 restorations, and it will not impede your bonding agents, your cementation processes, your impression taking. It really has become, in my office, an invaluable asset. So there are a couple of different ways that you can use that material. Here is the demonstration illustration here. You can either, as the top aspect shows, place it into the sulcus area, but do not put the tip into the sulcus. Put it right at the crest of the gingiva, and then you can place, and the Traxident will go and fill in the trough area. You can then use these retraction caps that Premier provides with the Traxident, and have the patient bite on it for about 2 minutes. Then wash and dry and rinse that away, and you'll have a lovely sulcus ready for preparation, or have a lovely area ready to restore and bond to. You can also use the Traxident in the 2-cord methodology. Say if you're placing a 00 cord as your bottom cord in the preparation area, then you can dispense the Traxident directly on top of that, leave it for 2 minutes, and then wash and dry. You can either leave the cord in or remove the cord, and then go ahead and take your impression. really nice material. We have been using that for a while, and it's been extraordinarily helpful in giving me clearer margins. With my laser, it's been a very valuable one, because every once in a while you get one of those bleeders that just won't stop no matter what. So using Traxident with my laser has been a very, very helpful thing. So you can use it with lasers, you can use it with your optical impressions, with your digital imaging. CAD-CAM users, it's going to be a godsend to you when you're placing implants or you're removing impression coping. To take your impressions, it'll reduce the bleeding around that. Whatever you need to stop bleeding is going to be very, very helpful. And that's what Traxident has done in my office. And hopefully you'll find it to be quite helpful in yours. Another thing that we have found very helpful is this knit packing cord. These are knitted retraction cords instead of being braided retraction cords. We have found these to be very helpful, and they come in all the various sizes that you would typically expect to have. And the benefits of these, of course, is that you're going to be able to get greater quantity of your hemostatic solution in the knit as opposed to the twisted and braided cord for better hemostasis. It's going to compact better when you put it in there. It's not going to fray, and it's not going to have that pop out that I typically have with some of the various braided cords that are out there. Cuts clean, won't get tangled up in your burr, and of course, as we said earlier, it's going to be available in all of the very popular sizes that you can go from the 000 all the way up to the 1 or 2. The other cool feature that my assistants love is that it has this blade that basically will cut it so they don't need a scissor. So you put the cord through the slot, you close the cap, and you're going to be able to have that cord come out. It's going to keep things sterile and cleaner, because you don't have to have a separate scissor running around. It's only going to give you the amount of cord that you need, and it's going to prevent that cord from dropping out and falling all over the place. Knit Pack is created and made by Premier as well. Alpha Tray. This is something that my wife stumbled upon while looking at things. We take a lot of impressions, alginates in particular, and you have to take an upper and a lower impression for study casts and for other things, sending off partials to get teeth added onto or other things like that. We found these alpha trays, and this has really been an interesting one because it's a dual arch simultaneous tray that you can use. You have one tray for 2 impressions, both the maxillary and the mandibular arch at the same time. And this has been the really fun part here because it cuts down on the amount of time necessary to take impressions, because once you've sized it and placed it, you've got one impression. And you can use it with alginate, you can use it with polyvolumosiloxane, you can use it with just about any material to create a really good preliminary impression for study casts, etc., and even to send things out. So it comes in 3 sizes, and here's one of my assistants being sized for an alpha tray, and this one is way too big. You can see there's way too much space between the edge of the tray and the teeth. And this one is way too small because the tray is almost right on top of the anterior teeth, so you know that the tray is too small in this situation. And this one is just right. There's sufficient space, there's a couple of millimeters between the tray and the teeth, so that this way you get a sufficient thickness of your impression material around the tray. And this is the upper in alginate and the lower. So that's the same tray. You don't need to load a lot of material into this either. You're going to use a lot less alginate. And if you're smart, as we have found out, what you do is you have your patients push their tongue in this empty area here on one side of the tray or the other. It'll help to make sure that the material stays firm in place on the tray rather than having to have it flow down the back of the throat. And then you pour up one side at a time, and make sure to score the back of the model so that this way the upper and lower model trays do not adhere to one another. You want to keep those 2 separate. It'll help you a great deal in knowing and in separating these for your preliminary impressions. A really nice nugget that we have been using, and we found it extraordinarily helpful. For those of you like me who are still doing regular impressions with either Improgum or polyvinyl siloxane, the T-Lock triple trays have been an excellent addition to my office as well. There's no need for any kind of adhesive. The material will adhere and lock into these little tongue and groove areas around the side, so you're not going to have to worry about the material coming out of the tray. And it's been a really helpful when they come in multiple sizes. They're very firm. I get zero distortion, which you can do when you get some really flimsy triple trays in there. So it's a very helpful tray to use. We've been using this for a while as well. Again, you don't have the key is the little notches in the tray that helps. It gives you very easy handling and accurate bite, very rigid, and it's a time saver. Very, very nice device that I would encourage you to take a look at. When you are creating your provisionals, a lot of us are using various non-eugenol types of cements out there. And sometimes you might find that your temporary cement is not helping you in keeping your crowns, your provisionals adhered. I can guarantee you that with NextTemp, your provisionals will stay in place. When we first found NextTemp by Premier, we were amazed at how adherent this material is to the tooth structure. And as the illustration here on the side shows, you only want to put a very thin light coating only up toward the marginal area. Otherwise, you're going to have a tough time getting this off. That's the beauty of NextTemp. It has this eugenol-free makeup. It has a fluoride release. It contains potassium nitrate, which can be a desensitizer in there. It has this resin matrix formulation to give you a good marginal seal with no washout. And really, really fabulous material. But don't use too much. You won't need it. It'll last you a while, and it'll do the job quite nicely in trying to help your provisional stay in place. Those of us who are doing zirconia crowns, everybody that I talk with is saying, you put on a zirconia crown and for some reason you have to take it out or do an endo access, you have to go through 7,653 diamonds and or burrs. Now, that may be a slight exaggeration, but it sure does seem like a lot. And it's, zirconia is tough as nails. Funny enough, though, that these Z-Tech diamonds by Premier, you can cut through zirconia fairly easily. They come in a variety of the sizes, as illustrated here on the slide. They have the orange stripes on the bottom, so this way you can differentiate them from your regular ones. We have a specific couple of kits set up with zirconia diamonds so that this way we can adjust the contours of our zirconia crowns prior to cementation or after cementation if necessary. We can make endo access through zirconia crowns into the teeth if that ever comes about. So this is something that that we have found quite useful, and wanted to definitely share this hint with you all this evening. And it's because of their special diamond formulation. This grinding tool is unique. It's interesting that a finer diamond is able to cut through zirconia than a really coarse one. So that's the interesting part. So I strongly urge you to look at these Z-Tech diamonds by Premier. You can adjust occlusion, endo access, cutting off the ceramics altogether. So something really pretty nifty. And after you finish and you need to polish it, you may as well put it in a good diamond polishing paste. This is the Diamond Twist SCO, which can be used intraorally. It comes with a variety of different brushes and pads and cloth discs to shine up your zirconia once you have finished adjusting the occlusion on your zirconia or any porcelain or ceramic crown that you've placed. Now we're going to talk a little bit about crowns and how to get your crowns into place properly. We know that zirconia has to be handled in a special way in order to make sure that you do not have challenges with it. And one of the things that I use in my office is Viscose Z Prime Plus. This material ensures me that my zirconia is going to bond properly to the tooth structure. Questions I get asked all the time in my lectures is that, John, can you etch with phosphoric acid the surface, the intaglio surface of the crown? And the answer is no. You do not want to use phosphoric acid on the internal aspect of your crowns. The reason is that what will happen is the zirconia will fail because you're tying up the crown. And what's going to happen is that if you use phosphoric acid, because this is it's going to start to deplete the sites needed to enable zirconia to bond to the adhesives that you're placing on there. So you should not ever use phosphoric acid. Clean it out with alcohol if you need to, if there's anything, putting it into an ultrasonic, then putting on your Z Prime, and then getting your crown ready for cementation. And we'll explain that in a few minutes. There are two bonding mechanisms that go on when you're doing silane to your porcelain Emax and other kinds of ceramic crowns. You want to use a silane on it versus zirconia. You wish to use a Z primer on it. The reason is that the silane reaction with the ceramics is a condensation reaction versus the zirconia primer, which is an addition reaction. If you don't silanate your crown with ceramics, as soon as you receive them from laboratory, you're not going to get as good of an action and for adhesion as you would if you did. You do need to, we recommend highly, and in our office the protocol is every Emax or ceramic crown that comes back has to be silanated. If it's not silanated in the lab, and even if it is, we still silanate them all in offices upon delivery, so that this way this condensation reaction can occur right away. With zirconia, you don't need to have to worry about that. You can place the zirconia on it after you've cleaned out the internal structure of the crown, and then put the Z Prime on there, and then go ahead and place it just as you would otherwise. Because it takes time for the silane to create this molecule if other actions are present. The addition reaction of the zirconia can take place in the presence of other molecules. It's not as challenging. So again, apply your primer upon receiving your restorations. For indirect bonding, for fully retentive crowns, of course, you have the substrates of the tooth, the adhesive, your cement, your primer, and then your restoration. And probably the most important aspect of this sandwich is what you cement it with. You're either going to use a resin-modified glass ionomer or self-adhesive cement of some type. Really doesn't matter which type of ceramic adhesive you use. As far as the cement goes, you want to make sure that you silanate or Z-prime the crown, of course, with your proper ceramic primer. But you can use just about any type of cement, typically with fully retentive crowns. Where you start to get into trouble are on these short and non-retentive crowns. And in that situation, you do have to be careful and understand the systems to know if your total etch and self-etch is going to be conducive with your light-cured or dual-cured resin cement. And then what type of ceramic that you're using, whether it's zirconia or Emax primer that's used in there. So the compatibility between your adhesive and your resin is critical. And also the type of ceramic primer, making sure that it is the right type. And that's why a lot of companies are creating these systems, so that this way you and I don't mix up what we're supposed to be using. And so it's important to get that. This is probably the most important slide for cementation. On the left-hand side are the steps that we recommend when you're getting your porcelain or lithium disilicate restorations back. First off, silanate upon receiving from the lab, try it in. Afterwards, decontaminate. You can decontaminate with the phosphoric acid on your lithium disilicates, or 2 minutes in an ultrasonic with ethanol. Rinse and dry. Place your bonding agent and then your resin cement. Zirconia, you can clean the internal surface. You can use a pumice scrub. Ultrasonic with alcohol or acetone. You can steam clean, sandblast with aluminum oxide, and then after that, apply your Z-Prime, 1 or 2 coats, let it dry, place your adhesive, cement it as you typically would. And again, there are systems that are out there. These systems, like the IntegraSem, can be used to make sure that you have all of the right components, and that the adhesive and the cement are going to work together and not attack one another, because unfortunately there are some systems out there and some cements and some adhesives that don't play nice with one another. You can use this IntegraSem for many different aspects, which is a very nice cement. Another one that is very popular that's just come on the market by Bisco is this E-cement. This is specifically designed for Emax type crowns, the lithium disilicates. Everything you need, if you're putting in a lot of Emax type crowns, then this is the cement for you. If you're putting in a variety of different types of crown, zirconia, Emax, etc., and so forth, then Duolink universal system is the one that you want to have available for it. So there's a cement and a system for every type of circumstance as you go forward. So it's certainly a nice way to do it. The most interesting cement that's just come on the market over the last year and a half, 2 years, is Ceramer Crown and Bridge Cement. This is a bioceramic luting agent that you can use for permanent dental cementing of all of your conventional crowns. You can use it with Emax, you can use it with lithium disilic, with zirconia, you can use it with gold, you can use it in porcelain fused to metal, etc. This creates a natural type of hydroxyapatite interface, biocompatible, with a natural remineralization property that helps to adhere the crown and the cement and the tooth together. Very quick and easy to use with zero sensitivity. I've been using this for quite a while. This is my primary cement for about 90+% of the crowns that we put in nowadays, because of its biocompatibility, because it has a higher pH after it's set than other cements out there, and there's no polymerization shrinkage as you will typically find with a resin cement. It does require you to activate it and then triturate it in your triturator for between 5 to 8 seconds, and then place it in. Easy to clean up, easy to work with, very, very nice product. Something that I would encourage you to take a look at the next dental meeting that you attend. I think you'll find it to be very fascinating. And the really cool part with Ceramer, you don't need to Z-Prime, you don't need to do anything specific. Just after you've tried in your crown, dry it off, put your Ceramer into the crown, put the crown onto the tooth preparation, have the patient bite for about 2 minutes, clear off the excess, and in less than 4 minutes it is completely set. A very remarkable product that basically is pretty much easy to use. Now, when we finish up and we've got our patients taken care of, we need to, of course, get them back in for recare. And one of the things that we've been using for our recare is this Enamel Pro Prophy paste, because it contains ACP. ACP is amorphous calcium phosphate that, from the studies that we have seen, is enabling a uptake of fluoride to a very high capacity into and around the tooth, with calcium and phosphate supplement being available. So we like using that in the studies that have been shown. The Enamel Pro with the ACP has a great increase in the amount of fluoride available and ions available to help keep the teeth healthy and vital as you go forward. And again, study amorphous calcium phosphate applications in dentistry demonstrated to have better in vivo osteoconductivity than hydroxyapatite and better than tricalcium phosphate as far as its bioactivity. bioactivity with no cytotoxicity. So this is all a benefit to our patients as we go forward. And of course, to supplement that in a good preventive practice and a good preventive protocol is a enamel varnish. To go on a fluoride varnish. One of the ones that we like using is this Premier Enamel Pro varnish that has optimization of fluoride release. The wonderful part about ACP is that it will take the calcium phosphate and fluoride and be able to penetrate into the tooth surface and help with the remineralization and protective process that is so necessary in helping to remineralize. There are, of course, other types of bioactive materials out there in addition to the amorphous calcium phosphate. There's, of course, the Novamin products that are out there, and, of course, Recaldent, which you will find in GC's MI Paste, which is another nice product. For those of you who are dealing with patients who have a casein allergy, a dairy protein allergy, the Recaldent is not indicated because of that casein protein. It can be a problem with those patients who are allergic to that. So be aware of what your patient's medical history is and if they have a casein allergy. That's where ACP comes in handy in that circumstance. And of course the Novamin found in a product that I like to use, which is called Silk, SYLC. You can find it in a powder form that can be used in your prophy jets or in an individual nozzle to apply to desensitize the dentinal surfaces. It has the ability to adhere and bioactively protect the tooth structure. So another nice product that we have found and we use routinely. So again, the important part here is the amount of fluoride uptake that you see with the ACP products. Greater fluoride uptake than just the tricalcium phosphate varnishes that are available. And additionally to that, longer substantivity, that basically it's available for a longer period of time, and it enables better remineralization because our patients are constantly being attacked every time they eat with the acids, and if we don't help to neutralize, which is what a fluoride, calcium, and phosphate varnish products like these can do, is it can help to counteract and work against the acid attack that we're constantly dealing with. So this is one of the various things that we use in our office.